hail to you and welcome to Chuntcast episode 51. This is the second time I've tried to do this because my computer crapped itself. Yep, it's very frustrating indeed. Anyway, hope you're doing well. I'm the king of this realm, Uncle Chunt. I hope you're all being great ones to you and yours. Before we begin, let's do this usual rigmarole. Before we begin, if you haven't already, consider joining the Chunt Core use by liking, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Indeed. Cool. Let's hook into it. Look, I'm facing a great threat. That threat is known as the algorithm. Yes. To defeat this creature, I'm going to need your help. Every time you see my video, please leave a like and comment. I know it sounds like I'm begging, but YouTube is forcing people to say this kind of stuff, and they're listening. You know, it might sound like I'm putting the tinfoil hat in, but they're listening. Together, we can take the fight to this beast and defeat it once and for all. Yes, let's do it. Look, I've had a contact who runs a big channel, right? And he provided some context behind the scenes as to what he has to deal with. And apparently the algorithm can detect who in their videos is actually trying to push for those kinds of things, right? I know this is going way off the rails already, but it is what it is. So not only do you have to be consistent, right? But there's all these other things like videos leading into other videos is very popular on YouTube right now. And the algorithm really likes that. Or long form content, keeping that retention, right? But it also can detect by just voice recognition who is actually prompting early in their videos to request or beg, for another word, for people to like and comment, subscribe, right? People say that stuff doesn't matter anymore, but apparently it does, right? So that's why I do it. I try to have a bit of fun with it because it's ridiculous, right? I hate having to do that, but apparently the algorithm likes it when people say that kind of shit. So, and I'm a couple minutes into this video, so I'm allowed to swear. That's the other thing. You can't swear within the first 30 seconds or so, first minute of your video. So there's a lot of hoops that you got to jump through to actually do this stuff to try and get some reach happening and to get your voice heard, essentially. Anyway, enough of that. Look, I've finished work a few hours ago, and it was a bit of a heavy day today. So if I see him a bit skittish or a bit on edge, that's why. Cool, awesome. So let's just chill out now. I'm going to take this as an opportunity for me to relax with you this evening and just talk about some things and have a bit of fun. Hardware issues and software issues and algorithms aside, let's just get in there and just have a good conversation, right? Let's just relax and get into it. So what's on the agenda for tonight? Okay, so we've got Ask Chunt as usual, right? And we've got Hasbro wanting to bring back the Transformers video games. I, for one, clearly am happy about that. So we'll talk about that. The Witcher Season 3 and what's going on with the showrunner, making some comments, and one of the writers, I believe it was, making some comments that I want to discuss. And is Power Rangers ending? Right, it's been a bit of a hot topic in the last couple of months, and I just took a bit of time just to understand it a bit more. And I just want to touch it at the end of the episode here because it's kind of interesting. Because it plays into a lot of stuff that's going on in the world of entertainment right now. Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, let's hook into a topic. Well, it's not even topic number one. The Ask Chunt. Excellent. And here we are. Okay. So this evening's Ask Chunt question is from Rollin' Down. I believe that is roll 3 and underscore Dune. I'm going to take it as rolling down. Hopefully I'm correct. So he asks, so the Witcher show kind of sucked. Yes. Season 3 was really bad. Yes. Worse than season 2. Yes. No wonder Henry Cavill quit the show. Is there any saving this show? Hell, even the showrunner is blaming viewers for the show's poor performance. Like, WTF is up with that? You think Liam Hemsworth is still taking this up. Peace. Love your channel and what you do until all I want. Yes, indeed. Till all I want. Okay, so there's a lot to talk about here and unpack a bit. So I'm not going to go into spoilers. If you haven't watched it yet, Netflix broke the season 3 finale. I'm calling it finale because I don't think the show is going to survive past this. They broke it into 2 halves. So season 3 part 1, season 3 part 2. What a way to just try and extend the conversation online. It's a bit ridiculous. So, okay, let's discuss. Okay, so this guy, he's made an absolute baller move and has walked away from The Witcher. And the announcement went out well before season 3 even came out that he's leaving the show, which you can consider that being just entertainment suicide as far as I'm concerned. This show's dead. This show's dead in the water. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, right? Henry Cavill was the only real redeeming factor about this show. Season 1 was actually, I thought it was all right. It was a bit slow. I think it was still finding its feet like most series do on season 1. But Henry Cavill was definitely a standout in this entire series. But yeah, he walked away from it because they just weren't taking the source material seriously. They were skipping over a lot of key plot points, a lot of in-depth moments and key moments in the books that he wanted to explore. They were changing a lot, and he just didn't really like it, right? And I'm really paraphrasing I'm compacting that entire conversation just into that. But that's the base of it, right? He loves the source material. He wanted to get more involved in it and to be more respectful to the source material. Because that's what people liked. That's why the book sold so well. So well. That's why the games, like the video games, they did their own interpretation of those books. However, they were still very faithful to the books, from what I'm told by massive fans of the books. Even though, yeah, as I said, it's its own interpretation. But this Netflix series has really condensed it too much. And season 3 just really burnt through a lot of lore and potential plot lines and plot threads. And that's one of the major issues with this show. And you can tell, like my wife and I are watching season 3, and when season 3 part 2 came out, it was getting like 2 episodes to the end, and we're just like, man, they're not wrapping any of this up. They're really not. It's moving at a pace where it's like, okay, I think they realize that they just need to burn through some stuff here to try and keep things interesting, because season 2 was a very slow burn. Season 2 was boring. Season 1, at least, it was new, it was dark, it was fresh. You didn't know where it was going. You didn't know what was going on. It seemed like it had a plan. Season 2, it seemed like it was trying to stretch things out further than it really needed to, and didn't really focus on Henry Cavill's character as Geralt very much at all. And season 3 was just all right. Like, yeah, I don't want to say he phoned it in, but I think he phoned it in. It just felt like he was just there, right? He didn't really Geralt his Geraltness to the fullest, to the max, like he did in previous seasons, particularly season 1. You could tell he was so into it. But here we are, right? So The Witcher currently, it's still popular. If I bring up IMDb, 8.1 out of 10 from the IMDb rating, right? It is what it is. Make of that what you will. I don't agree with that rating at all. That's not what I would do. That's not how I see it. I probably get it a bit of a 5-ish, real in the middle. It's kind of ultimately forgettable, right? Outside of season 1 and how that series took the internet by storm, and that big song it made famous, and season 2 had its song as well, and season 3 just didn't, right? Season 3 didn't have anything that the first 2 seasons had, really. It was a bit average, really average. So what's happening with it, right? So let's get a recap of what's happening here. So let me just close out some of this stuff. Well, it's a bit of a spoiler for the next topic. So Witcher producer blames young American audience for viewership decline, because of course they do. Of course they do. So this comes from Kotaku. I typically don't really like Kotaku and their content, but this one had a very apt descriptor and kind of gave me the key points to refer to. So we're just going to use this. So thanks, Isaiah Colbert, for this rundown. As of yesterday, they updated it. So when the first part of The Witcher Season 3's final season premiered on Netflix to a significant drop in viewership, it felt all but inevitable that the internet would plunge into an insufferable online disclosure over the once promising fantasy book adaptation. In what can only be described as the real-life version of The Simpsons, "Am I so out of touch?" meme, which it's funny because my wife was telling me about this the other day in the car and I said that without even knowing about this article, and then she pointed it out as she was reading this article, so we had a bit of a laugh that we were on the same page with this. The executive producer of the show has chimed in on the conversation by putting the blame on American audiences and TikTok users, because of course they did. Last October, Netflix announced that Henry Cavill would not be returning for Season 4 and would be replaced by Liam Hemsworth as his titular monster slayer, Geralt of Rivia. Netflix stretched out its final curtain call as Geralt by splitting up its third season into 2 parts. While the exact reason behind Cavill's departure is still unclear, fans began to speculate, as they do, whether it was over Cavill's frustration with the show's writers deviating from the books. Some fans think Cavill was specifically displeased with the show's oversimplification of the book's key plot points and flattened characterizations of the white-haired butcher of Blaviken, which he shined at portraying, hence the departure. The series' plot decisions have been contentious for fans as well, so much so that a producer recently weighed in on the discourse. Fascinating. Which a producer says simplified plot is necessary for American audiences. Okay, so he basically goes on and says there's some subject matter and topics about politics and everything within the story that are too complicated, and our major fan base and major audiences in America, and we just felt like we needed to simplify it, basically, to make it digestible for Americans. So make of that what you will. And he says he had the same issue with another film or story that he was trying to develop, and it was just too complicated. This story he was talking about, for Americans, it was completely incomprehensible, too complicated because they grew up in a different historical context. He's referencing an uprising in Germany and that whole story, where everything was arranged. America was always good. The rest are the bad guys, and there are no complications, right? Baginski continued saying, simplifications of plot points are just as painful for writers as it is for viewers, but oversimplifications to otherwise nuanced and complex topic are often necessary so that a show can reach a larger audience. I get that to a point, but you're underestimating your audience for one. Cool. Anyway, so when it comes to shows, they continue on here, right? This isn't the first time Baginski has blamed American sensibilities for certain show plot points. In an interview with Polish YouTube channel Imponderabilia, oh my god, can't believe I nailed that, Baginski singled out Season 2's low viewership as a byproduct of younger viewers who frequent social media sites like YouTube and TikTok for having short attention spans. In quotes, when it comes to the shows, the younger public is the logic of the plot. Sorry, the younger the public is, there we go, the logic of the plot is less significant. Those people grew up on TikTok and YouTube. They jump from video to video, Baginski said, adding that young folks gravitate more towards just emotions. When the interviewer chimed in and said they were part of the age range of viewers Baginski was talking about, the producer replied saying, "Okay, so it's time to be serious. Dear children, what you do to yourself makes you less resilient for longer content, for long and complicated chains of cause and effect." Right, so essentially he's saying that the audience is too dumb to understand the show if we put any more context and complex plot points and whatever else. If we took this seriously and tried to actually translate the books, not just ad hoc, but more faithful, that American audiences are too dumb to appreciate that. Make of that what you will. There's a lot to unpack in there, but I mean, there is something to be said about the dumbing down of America, right? And that's a whole other topic altogether, one that I'm not going to go into right now. But I understand where he's coming from, but the rest of the world matters too. America is just not the center of the universe, as much as America thinks it is. But I don't think that would have saved this show, right? I don't think this show would have been saved by having more complex plot points in it. It just didn't have it, right? It just didn't have the right showrunners. It had a great cast, I think, particularly Cavill. I mean, the rest of them could be replaceable for all I care, but I think Cavill is the only saving grace of this show altogether. And I'm not just saying that as a Henry Cavill fan, right? The rest of it, ultimately, anything and everything in that show could have changed significantly without sacrificing any viewership or audience, as long as you had Henry Cavill in there nailing it like he did. If they were a bit more faithful, like I think the first season really tried to take itself a bit seriously, and then season 2, they really started playing with it. They really simplified things. I expected this grand kind of epic, political, continental, magic kind of demon monster slaying storyline, but we didn't get that. And to say that audiences can't accept or appreciate a complex plot line, you obviously haven't watched or understood the fandom and the phenomenon that was Game of Thrones, right? That story had continuous like ebbs and flows and plot twists, and you really had to be up to scratch with what was going on, and the show interweaved everything like masterfully. I felt I really enjoyed that series, until obviously it fell apart at the end, but that show nailed it, and viewers were just so drawn in and absorbed into that story and in that show that everything that guy said, everything that these showrunners have just said, blaming the audience essentially for the poor performance of their show is just what a piss take. Just 100% piss take. This show is dead in the water, and I know I'm taking a long time to talk about an Ask Chunt question here, but it's worth speaking about because this has a lot to do with pop culture and the medium and content that we're consuming today. How this is how they think, right? This is what they think is going to sell, and it's just not. Most of the Disney Plus stuff that they release is just so dumb and surface level that it's built for 5-year-olds, right? It's built for 10-year-olds, right? Don't get me wrong. I've got a Transformers collection that was a kid's show, and the cartoon was built specifically to sell toys, right? But I know what that is, right? I know what that is. The Disney Marvel TV shows, right? They're not really catering to adults. They're catering to, preteens or teenagers or 5 to 8-year-olds, right? The Witcher, you're not going to need to dumb that down. It's already violent. It's already adult. It's already like dark and gritty. You should be aiming it towards mid-20s, late 20s, whatever it is, 18-year-olds who think they know everything and they think they're dark and moody and learning their hormones and stuff, and they want to relate to something dark. That's the kind of thing. That's the kind of demographic you should be aiming towards. And you probably just heard my boom arm like creaking and shit here. But anyway, what a missed opportunity. Cool. We got 3 seasons of Henry Cavill doing his thing. That's fine. Just look at him. I mean, what wasted potential again for the guy. All right? I loved his Superman, but my God, Warner Brothers, you mess up such an opportunity, right? I know that sounds silly, but that is what it is. How do you get someone like Henry Cavill in Superman, in that suit, who loves the character as much as he does, and you squander it, right? Netflix, you squandered Henry Cavill as Geralt. I hope Henry Cavill gets his due. Yeah, he was getting like $1 million an episode. Cool. Good on him, right? 10 episodes, $1 million each, $10 million to phone in season 3, friggin' done. Right? If he was getting $1 million an episode for every season, that's about $30 million. He's friggin' set for life anyway. He's the one that's laughing in all this. He's the one that's laughing, right? All the showrunners and producers are getting like pulled over the coals for a bad show and a poor handling of a show. And he's just like, yep, I'm good. I did my bit. Peace. I'm going to go do Warhammer 40K now. Bye. Right? So he's the one, he's got the last laugh in all this. Right, I fully support him, mate. He stood up and he's like, "Nah, I'm out. This show's crap. This isn't what I signed up for. Peace." Anyway, I got a bit passionate there, like I do. Yeah, Henry Cavill, just don't lose yourself, right? Keep being you. Excellent. All right. Well, that's that one. Thanks for the Uncle Chunt Ask Chunt question for this week. Thank you very much. And we'll roll into topic number 2, which is something very close to me. Yes, let's go. Okie dokie, Transformers. Look, surprise, surprise, surprise. I'm going to talk about something to do with Transformers. So what you're seeing here is artwork from the 360 and PS3 and Wii era of video games, War for Cybertron, and the sequel, Fall of Cybertron. Single-handedly, 2 of the best Transformers games ever made to this day. No other Transformers games have topped those games. Those games were so good that Hasbro officially made that story that was depicted in those games as the official, like, modern day origin retelling of Transformers. And yes, it is that good, to the point where I was like, damn, this is my Transformers. Right? I was like, yeah, this is the stuff. Right? I really, really enjoyed it. You know, some of the character designs, I didn't love every character design, but the tone, the care, the love, everything that was put into these games, you could tell that this was made by fans of Transformers, right? The voice actors was there, all the lore was there, you know, the look and feel of Cybertron, all the Transformers looked as they should be, right? It was great. It felt awesome. I loved it. The transformations were cool, and it was like that Gears of War kind of third person over the shoulder type combat, which was great. It just suited it very well. I don't know if you've played these games, and this is what this is about, right? The only way to play these games is if you've got physical copies of them, right? Or if you've got them off Steam, or if you've pirated them somewhere, right? There's no way to get these on modern day consoles through digital stores, right? They're not backwards compatible anywhere. So that's what this whole conversation is all about, right? So I wanted to highlight this because I want this to happen very badly, right? So this comes from Windows Central. No, I'm not going to subscribe. Hasbro wants Microsoft and Xbox to bring back Activision's Transformers games, right? So this has been updated because there's a lot of discourse online about it. So this comes in discussions about the Microsoft and Activision acquisitions, right? So what does that mean? What can happen? What are the potentials here, right? So Activision has these games, right? They release these games. They publish these games. So what does that mean? How can we get them, right? Transformers Devastation was, again, it was all right. It was the only other good Transformers game besides these two. I've got these all on Xbox 360 and Transformers Devastation on Xbox One. I've got physical copies of them because I love them. I bought them back in the day. I've replayed them many times. But would I love to like rebuy modern day remasters of them? 100%. I'd love to play it on my Series X without question, particularly these Cybertron games. So let's just hit the what do you need to know points, right? During an interview with Transformers fan website, Transformers World 2005 or TFW 2005, Hasbro stated a desire to re-release a collection of Transformers games published by Activision onto Xbox consoles and Xbox Game Pass. Oh, man. These games include the movie tie-in games to the live-action Transformers movies, High Moon Studios' War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, that one, those two games primarily, yes please, and Platinum Games Transformers Devastation. It was fun, but it just got a bit long in the tooth for me. But I loved it. It was such an 80s callback. It just leaned hard into that. That's why I love it. Transformers is the long-running multimedia franchise that chronicles the ongoing war of the heroic Autobots fighting to save the universe from the evil Decepticons. So there's an update, right? This update at the bottom is key. The discourse online was that someone was spreading a rumor, or there was word out there saying that Activision had lost the source code. They don't know where the hard drives are with these games on them, that they've lost them somewhere in the warehouse. All that discussion was going on. All right. So Lulu Cheng Meservey, who leads comms for Activision, tweeted that Hasbro's claims are in fact incorrect. Right. So everyone is saying, oh, they've lost the hard drives, they've lost the source code, right? But they've come out and said, no, that's not right. Activision still has the source code for its Transformers games of ages past, potentially raising the possibility of a re-release. Time will tell, right? So that's really, really good. That's really, really key. Really, really key for someone in an official capacity to come out and stop the discourse online saying, no, you're wrong. Like, we do have this. We do have these games. We have the hard drives. We have the means, right? So it just spurred the conversation ever further to say, well, what does this mean now, right? Are we going to see these games? I would love it, right? I don't know. Please leave a comment below if you've played these games, right? I wish I didn't have to drag out my 360 and hook it up just to play particularly these games. I've got other games I want to play, but particularly these two, I'd love to just be able to replay them whenever, right? Just have on hand, just buy them digitally, download, go, right? Or knowing me, I'd probably buy physical copies again anyway, but that's just me being a nerd and a fanboy. But please tell me if you've played them and what you thought of them. The scale and scope of these games was epic. It really transcribed the 1984 concept and rebuilt it for a modern audience of that era, right? It is very 360 era, like the designs and the color palette and all that. It was a muted color palette, and everything was kind of angular and dark and gritty and all that stuff. It was cool, man. I really dug it. And Peter Cullen coming back to be Optimus Prime was just icing on the cake, mate. Love it very much. But I would happily throw down money to support this. If it comes to Game Pass, sweet. All right. I'll probably still buy them anyway because you get a Game Pass discount if you're a subscriber, which is awesome. But yeah, you got like Omega Supreme in there. Triptychon is in there with a new take, which I really liked. Like what's the purpose of Triptychon? How they introduced Triptychon in those games was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. Metroplex, how they introduced him was just awesome. Like, wow, the scope of that was very cool. The Titans feel like Titans, right? And the smallest Scout bots felt like Scout bots. And the multiplayer was fun. You could build your own character in the multiplayer aspect, which was actually quite popular online back in the day. And that's one of the modes that a lot of people have been clamoring for ever since is the return of that multiplayer mode, which I think would be a major factor in bringing this game back, right? Particularly the Fall of Cybertron, which had the multiplayer aspect in it. Bringing that back and expanding on it, right? Keeping that service live, maybe introducing new features, new bots, new character designs, new skins, whatever it is, if they want to monetize it somehow. I hate that stuff. I really do, but I can just see it happening as how do we make more money off this kind of aspect? Mind you, it's not Activision as we know it anymore. It's now the Microsoft Activision. Might be different. Who knows? They're all about game preservation, and it might just put it out there as it was. Put some servers up and go. I would love that. I would love to jump back in there and create my own bot and play some games and fight some bots together and stuff like that. That'd be really cool. Anyway, I just wanted to finally talk about this because I've been like salivating about the idea of it coming back. Please tell me if you've played these games. If not, go find a copy, right? Just find a copy. Until it's officially available for you to get, find a way to get them, right? Go, if you still have a 360 or PS3 lying around, go buy a copy of those games. It's particularly the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron. Those two games, oh boy. They tell a great story, and it's very atmospheric. It's action-packed. It's a lot of fun. The way that it concludes leads directly into the 1984 series, and I would love to see them expand on this. I mean, there is a new toy line that Hasbro puts out, the Transformers Studio Series Gamer Edition, where they're starting to re-release the characters from this game, right, as toys for the first time since 15, 20 years ago. And they're really good. They're using the actual CAD models and stuff like that, and it looks legit like it's from the game. They're all big and bulky and look really awesome, and they just look like they stepped right out of the video game. I, for one, I did pre-order them, but I cancelled them because I don't want to open up another toy line to go down, right? And you can just look at that screenshot right there. There's already a few $100 plus right there on the screen if they did all those characters, and I can't commit to that. If you've seen everything on my wall back here, and my bank will be like, no, you're not going down that rabbit hole. Just stop at this collection, and that's done, right? Don't do it to yourself. That's what I'm telling myself anyway. I don't need them. I just want them. It's a need, not a want. Wait, No, that sounds like an addict. It's a want, not a need. Anyway, yes, I get a bit excited when it comes to potentially playing these games as remastered versions on modern consoles, and to have them there all the time for new people, new fans, new Transformer fans, or people that have not had any exposure to Transformers, and they can play these games and they're that good. It's a great introductory piece to this universe, instead of playing those new cheaper budget titles that are coming out these days, or mobile games or whatever. That's not the best way to enter this. At least, if you're a preteen or a teenager, or in your early 20s or whatever, like, this feels like a kind of cool, dark and gritty take on Transformers that, it's a bit edgy and whatnot, and kids will get into it. Anyway, I'm going on, but keep an eye out for this. If there's any updates to what happens with this, if there's an official notice that comes out saying they're coming out, you'll hear it from me, 100%. Indeed. Cool. All right, I got my little Transformers rant out there for a little bit, and yes, you can see the Transformers behind me. I don't know if that Gamer Edition toy line is going to continue past, the standard like Optimus, Megatron, Bumblebee. They got Barricade out. So far, they haven't announced any other ones yet, so I'm not fully into that. I'll have to see if they support that line. Maybe I'll delve back into it. But as you can see, I'm quite chockers behind me already, and there's all the Titans above me on the shelf here, and in the lower third here, there's 2 more shelves. So yeah, there's a lot. Anyway, moving on. Let's get into the last topic for this evening, and let's do this. Excellent. So Power Rangers, yes, from one Hasbro property to another. Power Rangers Cosmic Fury is the Netflix-produced series that I've mentioned on this show a couple times. It's only 10 episodes, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this is the potential final season of Power Rangers ever. Right? And that might sound scandalous or clickbaity, but it could be factual, right? And let me tell you more about it. Okay, so Power Rangers Cosmic Fury is a follow-up series to another series called Power Rangers Dino Fury. Right, so it's averaged positive reviews on IMDb. It's a bit lower than The Witcher, but I would personally rate this a bit higher than The Witcher. Just putting it out there. The costumes are rad, the story's rad, the characters are cool, and it's fresh and new. Right. So what are the reviews saying about this particular season? So just to recap some stuff about what Power Rangers Dino Fury is. Okay, Dino Fury is the first series since the Mighty Morphin era back in the 90s, where the cast for a particular season have come back to do another season, right? So Power Rangers Dino Fury has the same Rangers as the new season, Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. So that's its big tentpole idea, right? It's the first series to carry over its cast into a new season, right? And I'm not counting Power Rangers Megaforce / Super Megaforce and Power Rangers Samurai / Super Samurai, or Ninja Steel / Super Ninja Steel, or Dino Charge / Super Dino Charge. They're the same thing, right? Except they had a block of 20 episodes and then a block of 20 episodes. Whereas this is like legit. They finished a run of Dino Fury with a bunch of episodes, right? And now they're coming back for a whole new season called Cosmic Fury, right? And I know I'm harping on about it, but seriously, every Power Rangers season has a whole new roster of characters, right? So this is a big deal, okay? So the reviews, I mean, yes, I'm aware some of these are probably more than likely just from fans leaving reviews here, but not all of them, right? And this show has been a bit controversial for a number of reasons. There's, modern sensibilities in this show is what I'll say. Where is it? There's one review that I read on here. It's clearly written by a parent or something like that. Not for kids. It must be promoted on TV. The contract with Nickelodeon is just annoying. Yeah, so Nickelodeon's kind of one of the worst things that's happened to Power Rangers. We used to get 30 to 40 episode seasons, and since Nickelodeon picked it up over the last 10 years, it's like 20 episodes a season. So it kind of, you don't get that time to live with those characters as long as we used to and live in that world and understand the characters. It's always like at a fast pace because you've only got 20 episodes to work with. So wrong and destroyed Netflix. Well, that's one. All right. So this is one I was talking about. I think it's clearly written by an older parent or a parent with conservative values, maybe, if that's the right way to say it. My kids watched these Power Rangers Netflix some time ago. I cast a glance, and I would say that in the 21st century, visual effects, sound effects, storytelling, acting thrive, but it's not everything. But it's not everything is pure bottom. This person doesn't know how to write. Visually, it's done so badly that he wonders if they invested any will, time, and money in this. It's a kids show on a very not loose budget, but very tight shoestring budget. Sound is a disaster. I don't know about that. The acting, the fight scenes are so bad that it's just not watchable. It's a kids show. Yeah, the fight scenes aren't as cool as they were in the 90s, but yeah, come on. Anyway, this is where it gets a bit interesting. I read this one earlier. In these Power Rangers, they also included romantic relationships and same-sex ones. Aghast. So since when the emphasis on Power Rangers has been on romantic relationships and such a approach in general? Well, this is a series for children. Hello, people. So children are not interested in romantic relationships. Well, they need to see like how you can be with other people, right? Kids need to be introduced to the concept of love. You know, I'm not talking about smut and all that kind of stuff, but kids need to be aware of the fact that people can love each other. And so what if Power Rangers introduces them to that, right? I know what they're talking about in there, so I've seen it, and it's nothing. It's literally nothing. Thank you, Netflix. You managed to destroy another great work from our past. There is no place in my home for Netflix anymore, nor will it ever be again in the future. We'll see about that. For Netflix and any of their work. Protect your children from bad and harmful content. I do not recommend to this to anyone. Okay, so what they're talking about is there's a Power Ranger in this show. She's the first green Power Ranger in history for the American show anyway. And you know that's one thing, because the Green Ranger is usually a bloke, and he's usually the popular one, the sixth Ranger who saves the day. But in this one, it's part of the main cast. She's a Green Power Ranger, and she's a woman, and she's also a lesbian or bi, whatever it is in the show, right? And this part that she's talking about is there's a little scene where there's two girls holding hands and they hug, and I think the one pecks the other on a cheek for congratulating them on something, and that's it. Right? This is 2023. Get over it, right? And you know, love is love. So get over it for a start. Yeah, but Power Rangers, I mean, they've always done that. They've always had love in Power Rangers, right? There's been many series where there's been a love interest. I mean, Kimberly and Tommy back in the Mighty Morphin days, that Time Force had one as well, which that was pretty much almost centralized around a love story. So it's not the first time. It won't be the last time. But why am I talking about Power Rangers and love stories? Well, I'm trying to give you some context as to what Dino Fury is, and I didn't really explain it too well, but I just wanted to read some of those comments because I thought it was funny. We're in 2023, people. But Dino Fury, the suits are awesome. The show's cool. The characters are new and fresh. It takes it back. I think this is the strongest season since the original run of the Disney era. And those who don't know what I'm talking about, Disney actually owned Power Rangers for a number of seasons, a number of years before selling it back to its original creator again. But some of the Disney era Power Ranger series are some of the best. I'm not going to lie. They actually put time and effort into the storylines and the story threads. And yes, they kept it as a kid's show, but they actually took it relatively seriously. Right? They didn't treat the kids, the audience that they were catering to, even though if they were kids, they didn't treat them stupid. You can go watch those back even today. Yeah, there's some cheese in it, but Power Rangers has always got cheese in it. But you can still watch those Disney era episodes and those shows and be like, damn, I can't believe they got away with that back then. Like SPD and Time Force for one. Both of those are really cool. Those are great. Those are great episodes and seasons, those ones. RPM and Overdrive had some dark stuff in those. It was pretty cool. But anyway, so what does this mean, right? So Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. So that's coming out on Netflix this year, right? and it's a wholly owned Hasbro series. This is the first series that Hasbro is doing on its own, right? It's using very little Japanese footage, right? And this is going to be one of the first episodes or one of the first seasons of Power Rangers that is the majority is original English American made content, not just taking the Japanese source material and adapting it and reshooting all the civilian side of stuff in America and splicing in the Japanese content. This series, like Beast Morphers before it, is slowly drifting away from the Japanese content. These suits don't exist in any Japanese Super Sentai, right? That's huge. And that might not sound like anything for those who are unaware, excuse me, but that is huge. That's a big deal. Every other season of Power Rangers you've seen, those suits are from a Super Sentai from Japan. The Zords are from a Super Sentai in Japan, right? So this is the first original American team ever created for Power Rangers. And the Zords in the show are taken from the Japanese show, but they've adapted it and adjusted it to suit their toy line, right? So what you're going to see is this is a test bed, right? I strongly believe that they're half the reason why they're bringing the original cast back from Dino Fury into Cosmic Fury is because they've already got an install base of fans who know that series. So they'll come back and watch this one, right? That's an obvious one. 2, they're testing this out to see if they can actually make their own Power Rangers season without any backing from Japan, right? Using any source material from Japan or very little of it and see if they can do it. They're taking, this is all done, right? All the filming for this is all done. They're in post-production, whatever. It's going to go on Netflix very, very soon, right? Following this, they've pulled all production out of New Zealand, right? Traditionally, New Zealand has been where the Power Rangers has been filmed for the last 15 years, right? Every episode that you've seen, every season that you've seen for the last 15 years, it's all been filmed in New Zealand, like outside of the Japanese footage. But New Zealand's been Power Rangers home for most people's lifetimes that actually watch the show, right? For the last 15, 20 years or going on 20 years, right? So they're pulling all production out of New Zealand, which I don't understand because they're half the reason why, the majority of the reason they filmed in New Zealand because it was so cheap from the exchange rate and tax write-offs and, you know, all those reasons, right? So Hasbro's is just internalizing everything, right? They're cutting New Zealand out, they're cutting Japan out, and what happens after this series, right? If they succeed with this, that's once and always Netflix special was another test, I believe. I strongly believe Netflix produced that, right? They made all that. They made the suits. They made the command center. They made all the props. None of that comes from any Japan showing. That was an all internal Hasbro Netflix combo, all in America, right? And I mean, they probably filmed some parts in some other parts of the world, but you know what I'm saying, right? And this is another test. So what happens after this? So why did I say that this might be the final Power Rangers season ever? Well, if you don't know what's going on with the actors' strike and the writers' strike in Hollywood right now, I would be surprised if we see Power Rangers come back in the next 2 years, right? We're not going to see anything from Power Rangers in 2024. 2024 potentially is going to be the first time Power Rangers will not have a new show anywhere since 1993. Right? That's massive, right? Power Rangers has been going on the air in many facets and many ways since 1993. And 2023 might be the last time you see it. If not, it'll be the first time in Power Rangers history where it won't have a show for a year or two. So that's a pretty big deal when you paint it out like that. You know, it's like The Simpsons taking a year off. You know, that's basically what it is, right? Power Rangers has been around as long as I can remember, right? It's been one of those mainstays in my life and many people's life. And just the concept of like, oh, okay, it's something that was always there that I really liked is potentially not going to be there anymore. You know, it's like if Transformers disappeared. You know, it's like if Transformers just stopped being viable, and Hasbro's like, yeah, we're gonna put Transformers on hiatus, right? That would blow me away for one. And it almost did happen back in the 90s, but anyway, I digress, as people say. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen here, right? We're going to see a lot of crap, right? 2024, 25, potentially 26. We're going to see a lot of crap, right? Who knows what's going to come out of this writers and actors strike, right? Because the reasons why the strike is happening is because of pay disputes, because of AI disputes and challenges. And what does that mean for the art form? What does it mean for the industry? That's what all this is happening for. All these productions have halted. Even Blue Beetle's coming out in August, and the actors aren't on the press circuit for it. You know, they're not supporting the film as protest, right? So, you know, as much as I want Blue Beetle to succeed, but I also understand that if Blue Beetle doesn't succeed, then it'll be for a good cause, right? Because the people that are in that movie are protesting for fairer work conditions, fairer pay, you know, fairer entitlements. You know, these movies making billions of dollars. Like, how many writers and actors have missed out on their due because they got screwed over by the studio, right? Essentially. And that's for this as well, right? So if you've got no writers, if you've got no actors, you've got no show, right? Outside of the production houses and, you know, the people making the props and the CG and all that, that's a whole other discussion. But with Power Rangers going off the air for the first time since 1993, there's many more stories like that for other long-running shows and movies and franchises that aren't going to be on the airs for the next year or two or three, right? So I just want to highlight that because I don't think anyone, I mean, the Power Ranger fandom are aware. This conversation is quite popular amongst the Power Rangers fandom. But for those of you who watch me, if you're up here this long in the video, you might not be aware of that, right? You might not have thought about it. You might have heard about this writer's strike and actor's strike, but you might not think about the fact of, oh, wait. So if some shows and movies take years to make, right? Some movies take 2-3 years to make. Some shows take a year or two to make, right? If there's a strike for 6 months, 8 months to 12 months, and no actor is working and no writers are working, where's the content coming from? Right? Where's the property coming from? What's Hollywood doing? Right? They've got all these stories and IPs and scripts running around, but if they've got no actors and writers to write them, that's why the conversation is, you see Disney and other studios putting adverts out for new job openings for people who know how to run and develop AI, right? So they can create their own AI actors and use assets from digital scans. You know, they go to these CG houses to scan in their actors' faces, and they own the rights to those scans, right? But unbeknownst to the actors and whatever contracts that they've signed, did they unintentionally sign over the rights to their likeness indefinitely if it's going to be used by a CG AI creation to act in some AI written movie, right? There's this whole discussion outside of, I know this started off with Power Rangers, but it matters, right? Just because, like, there's a correlation between, oh no, Power Rangers is going to be off the air in 2024 for the first time since 1993, and actors being created artificially without their consent. Like, there is a correlation there, right? So I'm trying to build that story, and I just found that very interesting. Like, what happens to Power Rangers now? Like, do they just become an animated show? You know, some people, like those reviews I looked at, considered it to be like a cartoon. You know, flashy lights and sound and explosions, but it's not just about that. Power Rangers, if it becomes fully animated, it's not Power Rangers anymore. Power Rangers, half of the appeal is it's live action. People running around in cool suits and doing, you know, fly kicks and cartwheels and fucking explosions behind them and stuff. And you know, cool designs, cool mechas and cool Zords and big epic battles and stuff like that. And you know, some cool character designs and concepts and whatnot. But anyway, what am I going to do? Right? I love Power Rangers. I've got all the books. I've got all the comic books. Sorry, the 2016 Boom Comics comic line. I've got all the volumes of that series. I love it. It's great. I wish Power Rangers would continue indefinitely. The other conversation is what happens when it comes back, if it comes back, right? Will Hasbro fund a new show? Will they just reboot the show entirely? Like that's the other conversation. Is Power Rangers Cosmic Fury the end of Power Rangers as we know it? Right, that's a potential. Right, there's potential for Hasbro to go, all right, we're going to go on hiatus for 2 or 3 years and let's reevaluate this property. And when we come back, what are we going to do? Let's just reboot the whole thing, right? Are we going to get a new Mighty Morphin? Right, new actors playing as Tommy and Jason and Kimberly and Trini and Billy and Zach. No order of preference there. I can see that happening because what do you do? Like when you come back to bring a property back from the vault, so to speak, after being absent from the pop culture for 2 or 3 years, 5 years, say, what do you come back and do what works? You come back and play that nostalgia bait, and you reintroduce the show with the original, like Generation 1, you could say. I can see that happening. I really can. Instead of taking a risk and rebooting the show with a brand new team, brand new concept, fully produced in America, make a real big show of it. Anyway, I'm just spitballing here and talking ideas off the top of my head as they come to me, as you can probably tell. But I just find this very interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, for better or worse, as the entertainment industry pulls itself apart. Excellent. Cool. All right, let's wrap this up, shall we? Yes. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. We're coming up to an hour now, 52 minutes. So I do appreciate your time as always. I do respect it. I try to give you some, not just entertainment. Oh, that's my lens cap from my camera. I try and give you some meaningful content and I just finished saying something about I'm aware of your time and appreciate it, which I am. And here I am mucking around with the lens cap. But I do thank you for letting me in your life for these minutes, for this hour, and let me talk and listen to me vent about whatever it is that goes on in this little brain of mine between these ears, and hope you get something out of it. I like to try and provide some different perspectives and context to things that you might not have thought about from my own point of view. Yes, I might have read a couple articles and reviews here to back up what I'm saying or just to give further context to what I'm saying, but I don't want to sit here and just like regurgitate stuff that I've heard. Like I don't have time to just investigate this kind of stuff during the week, right? Between episodes, it'll peer behind the veil of my life. But between these episodes that I do, man, I'll just check Twitter every now and then. And if there's like a news article that comes up, I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting, right? And I'll save that for later because I might want to talk about that when I do my next Chuntcast, right? So when it comes time to prep myself for these episodes, I'll go through Twitter or what browser tabs I've got open on my mobile phone, right? And I'll just go, yeah, oh, no, I'm not interested. No, oh, yeah, I'll keep that one. I'll just pick some topics out of what's happened during the week, and I'll read them, right? And I'll check some discourse and see what it is, see what the general consensus is, right? But then I'll sit there and think about, well, how do I feel about that? And then I'll give my perspective, right? That's what I do, right? I work full time in a quite stressful job, particularly now. So I don't have a lot of time to really invest as much as I'd like, but I hope you appreciate at least what I am putting out here with the little time that I do have to prep for it. But I do enjoy doing this, right? Regardless of how much time I have, I hope this is worth your time. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the feedback. I enjoy the comments. I enjoy the people that are leaving the questions for the Ask Chunt segment. Keep them coming in. It means a lot just to see people like wanting to have their question read out on my little part of the internet. And yeah, cool. All right, awesome. So this is Friday evening. I'm going to clock off now and get this post-production done and uploaded and get the thumbnails and everything done and put a cap on this for yet another week on a Friday night. And appreciate you as always. As we wrap this up, I wish to thank you for your time again and including me in your day. Feel free to follow my socials at Uncle Chunt on major platforms, or just find my website, unclechunt.com. to keep abreast of my upcoming projects and updates. In the meantime, till all are one, and may the power protect you. Yeah, you specifically. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Peace.